Hello, I'm Roy Vanderveer, and welcome to the very first edition of That 90s VMX Show, where we take a look at the true life adventures, technologies, and happenings from the decade of grunge. When I look back or think back to the 90s, there was one person who was influencing a large cross section of motocross racers all across the country. He was working hard out of his independent repair shop. He was printing newsletters. He was sending out technical bulletins. And then he even started writing books. And that was nobody other than Eric Gore. Whenever Eric would publish something, I wasted no time whatsoever getting my hands on that information. This was true life knowledge that really helped any amateur or expert level rider improve what was going on in their program. And he was also giving everybody insight into engine building tips and techniques that were not widely publicized. You weren't going to read about this stuff in Motocross Action or Dirt Bike Magazine. It was the next level up. So absolutely, I owe a lot to the stuff that Eric put out, and it even helped make me the mechanic that I am today. So in all of his books, there is one page out of his very first book that I always think back to, and it's a project that I wanted to do very much, but I didn't really have the right need to do it. But it's valuable to a lot of people, and that project is how to build a mobile workbench. Now, as I mentioned, I've always loved this idea, but I'm visiting a friend in the Los Angeles area who is an active road racer, motocrosser, and does desert racing. And when I saw his workshop and how much stuff he had packed into a very small amount of space, it took me right back to this idea, which I did introduce to him because it really helps consolidate everything to make it easier to work on your bike. Now, his garage space was limited, so now with this mobile workbench, he's got the option to roll that bench out into the sunlight and work outside as well as inside, effectively more than doubling the amount of workspace that he's got to use. Okay, given that space is at a premium for just about everybody, let's run down what you need to build yourself a mobile workbench. First thing to do is think about the things you're going to need for a workshop. You need a solid bench, a vise, a parts washer, and a safe place to store your tools and parts. This mobile workbench is one that I could use in the shop or put in the van for use at the track. I start with a steel motorcycle crate that I pick up out of the trash at a local motorcycle shop. These types of crates are ideal because they are fastened together with bolts that are very sturdy. Next, I bolted wheels onto the bottom so that I could roll it around even when it's loaded down with a lot of weight. Then I increased the rigidity and made it more secure by bolting sides and a bench top to the crate. I bought a stainless steel sink from a building supply store so I could rebuild engines or suspension components without making a mess. Then I positioned a large vise over the sink so I could hold the engine or suspension parts in place while I work on them. The next thing I needed was a parts washer. I mounted a 3-gallon mini parts washer under one basin of the sink. Once you clean your parts, you then need a way to blow them dry with air, so I bought a 1/2 horsepower electric compressor and linked it to a 5-gallon air tank for air storage. This little unit makes enough pressure and has enough volume to pop beads on tires. So now you've got your mobile tire changing center at the track too. There was so much space left over in the crate that I added storage shelves and bins and still had enough room to mount a toolbox. Because I had some expensive tools in the crate, I made secure sides with hasps so I could flip up the sides and lock the box closed. The sides on my mobile workbench were so large and blank that I just had to fill them up with stickers from my favorite friends' businesses and my favorite brands' products. So there you have it. Next time you're scrounging through your messy garage looking for a 10mm T-handle, or you just had your toolbox ripped off from the track, think about this simple and inexpensive alternative for a workbench. So to wrap up this little segment, keep in mind your workbench does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be fancy. Marketplace is your friend. You can get used toolboxes pretty commonly for as cheap as about $50. You can buy used vices. Most of the things you need for your toolbox, you can also get out of the used market. So, hey, it's great to have all the fresh new stuff, but if you're busy spending money on your bike, we got to make it go as far as we can. And Eric Gore has put forward, I think, one of the best workshop ideas that I've ever seen. I love this thing. I'm sorry I don't have one, but it just doesn't quite work out for me. But I know there's a lot of people out there that this could really do justice, save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money, makes it easier to work on your bike. Nobody likes working on their bike when it's difficult to do, meaning that you got to dig it out of the shop or you got to move a car out of the way. Anything that gets in the way makes it harder to spend time doing things like cleaning your air filters, checking your tire pressure, making sure your fork air pressure is correct, and all the little maintenance items that you have to do if you're riding a dirt bike. So before you throw your hands up in disgust, how about you take a look at Eric Gore's mobile workbench and consider building one for yourself.